Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So for those of you who don't know, I'm actually in New Zealand at the moment. I moved here about a year ago and it's definitely been a bit of a bumpy ride and a lot of mixed emotions, and some of it has definitely been a bit difficult and a bit challenging. But I'm going to focus on that in a completely different video. Today I want to talk about the 10 things that I really love and I'm really loving about New Zealand. So the first thing that I've absolutely loved and been pleasantly surprised about is the weather. So when we first arrived, it was this time last year, so like New Zealand springtime, October, and I was a bit like, oh, where's the summer? But the summer didn't really kick in until around the end of December, and then it really was lovely. It was more like a hot European summer. If you were on the east coast of New Zealand, it was way hotter even back in October, and then we moved over to the west coast and it was a little bit colder, but definitely as soon as summer kicked in, it was like beach time, sun cream, sunburn. Summer really trickled on for quite a while, and then when winter came around, there definitely was those kind of dark days, but it was kind of like a nice novelty to have a bit of cold and nice seasons. It is the end of winter now, it's kind of coming into springtime, and definitely I'm over the rain and the cold and I really want summer to arrive. It definitely hasn't been as bad as the UK. The average temperature is much, much higher. I haven't had to take out a coat or scarf or a hat on the North Island. They just literally live in the car and I grab them sometimes. Down on the South Island, definitely, but when you're on the South Island, you've got the snow and you've got the snowboarding, so winter kind of, you know, that's also just a really nice, exciting time. So the second thing that I loved and was a wonderful surprise when I got to New Zealand is seeing how much the Māori culture is like intertwined within New Zealand and the culture here and the communities. It wasn't something I expected. Me and Kev, pretty naive on the subject. We've still got a lot to learn, but when you come over, there's so much language and so many values that people talk about every day, especially on the North Island. And this has been something that's been very different from other places where we've been with Indigenous communities like Australia or Taiwan, where it's very, very separate. You might go to a particular place where Indigenous people are and those values are, but it's not so mixed with everyday life. So these are in no particular order, but the third thing that I absolutely love is that people in services are really nice, and this is really refreshing coming from big cities like Hong Kong and London. When you go to the bank, when you go to the doctors, when you're at the supermarket, people are really run off their feet. They're busy, they're tired, they're overworked, and then out in New Zealand, I don't know, it's just really nice. You've had a bad day, you're really tired, and then the lady at the AA, or you pop into the doctors or the bank, and the receptionist is just so lovely. They really want to help you. Obviously, of course, there's a few grumpy people here and there, but most of the experience has been that just genuinely people have been really nice, really, really helpful on a personal level as well. When I first got here and I went to the doctors and I said I was new, not only were they just lovely in terms of like registering me at the doctors, but they also personally gave me the numbers of their relatives to call because I was moving to the same town as them. So that is something that I have not experienced anywhere else. The fourth thing that I love is the range of health foods available, and again, perhaps you can get more health foods over in London, but coming over from Asia and Hong Kong, when you come to the supermarket here in New Zealand, there is just every option for every kind of diet that you want to do, and I like to try different diets for my health, so it's really nice to be able to walk into a store and see loads of like maybe keto things or low carb things, or if you're a vegan, there's absolutely tons of vegan options. So that's just been a really pleasant surprise, and wherever you are, you can always kind of pick up something. The fifth thing that I love is the native flora and fauna, the native bush. So I didn't expect New Zealand to have still such a tropical vibe about it. I thought it would again be a little bit more like British, and when you think of New Zealand you think of Lord of the Rings and maybe a little bit more like the UK, but actually the North Island is still so tropical. You have these absolutely incredible trees, and they come with loads of different birds, so that's been something that's been a real surprise. There is a lot of deforestation, but when you find those little areas and those patches of bush, it's just beautiful, and so that's been a really lovely thing. The sixth thing I love about New Zealand is the diversity of the landscape, and this leads to so much domestic tourism. I mean, you can go all the way up to the top and you're pretty much in the subtropics, you know, big long sandy beaches, clear water. Then you go all the way down to the South Island, you've got the glaciers, you've got the snowboarding, you've got the mountains. So it's wonderful to see so much domestic tourism. People here travel around the whole country. For even if you go from east to west, there's so much diversity, and with that, you know, when you visit, each town is completely different, the vibe is completely different. I felt like when I traveled around the UK, no matter what town you visited, they all had this similar kind of vibe, you know. They're all absolutely beautiful, but you could be in Bath or you could be in York and you've got these wonderful old brick buildings, but they're very similar. Whereas in New Zealand, you could be in Napier or you could be in Wellington and the vibe is completely different, and it's wonderful to be able to travel within a country with so much diversity, and the landscape as well, of course. The seventh thing that I love about New Zealand is the secondhand market. It's awesome. Obviously there's Facebook Marketplace, there's Trade Me, but the shops as well. And it's not taboo, people just go and shop there, and then because loads of people shop there, loads of people donate there. So you go in, you can get some really, really nice stuff. I've got some fantastic things from there, hiking boots, jumpers, home stuff. So that's been really, really nice, especially coming over from Hong Kong, where at the time the secondhand market wasn't that great. You could get furniture and things from people leaving, but clothes and accessories and just the ease of it, and it just being something that everybody does is really nice. So you can pick up things really on the cheap. Obviously it's wonderful because it's nice and sustainable too, but definitely loving the access to the secondhand market and all the things that you can get. The eighth thing that I love about New Zealand is that there is so much room still for innovation and tons of opportunities. If you're thinking of coming over to New Zealand to start up a business, you're not going to be treading on a ton of people's feet or trying to compete with somebody. And this is outside of Auckland and Wellington. So if you're maybe in Auckland, perhaps, but if you're outside of those places, you walk around and you just think, oh my God, you could do this, you could do that. And there's just so many opportunities available. So if you're ever thinking about setting something up, definitely check out New Zealand because there is tons of room for it still over here. The ninth thing that I love about New Zealand is a little bit controversial perhaps to some people, but it's the relaxed atmosphere around cannabis. There's a cannabis referendum at the moment. I don't know if it's going to go through or not, but it's really nice to be in a country where there's a lot of people that use it, not just to exploit it and take advantage of it for psychological reasons and to get really high, but a lot of people use it for medical reasons. A lot of people home grow it, and fingers crossed the referendum goes through. And yeah, it's just, that's been a really nice, pleasant surprise. I didn't expect that. So that's been cool. And the 10th and final thing, and probably the best thing of them all, is that New Zealand is COVID free. This has been incredible. We were so lucky to arrive here when we did. It was a year ago, like I said, to the day. We came in on working holiday visas with no plan, no idea what we were doing. And we luckily found some work for now so that we're sponsored, and then I'm going to be studying. But if we'd left it any longer and we hadn't have come into the country, we wouldn't have got in. The borders would have shut. All of our plans for the next few years would have just been completely thrown up in the air. I can imagine and sympathize that probably a lot of you guys are in that situation. So we are so, so grateful that we took the plunge and came over when we did, even though we didn't have a plan set up, because even though we're here, we still don't have a plan. We're here and we can move around, we can travel. It's very difficult being away from everybody back home. That is the downside of it. So it's not all peaches and cream, but it's been a blessing to be in a country that's been COVID free and at least be able to get on with things, be working and be looking towards the future and keeping busy. So very grateful for that. So those were my 10 things that I have loved about moving to New Zealand. Like I said, it's been a very bumpy ride. It hasn't all been ups. There's definitely been some downs. So if you're interested, I will be uploading another video, 10 things that I have not liked about New Zealand and that I have found difficult. So keep a lookout for that and subscribe if you're interested, and I'll chat to you guys later. Thanks for watching. Bye.